Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Bhadram Karnebhih Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vridhashravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om, salutations to all. So, Omkar Upasana. Omkar has four matras, A, U, and Ma, followed by the Amatra, which is the fourth matra, which is also the state of Turiya. So, A, U, and Ma, the Upasana of Omkar is done when one chants Om. The bhavana one has is this Om is Supreme Brahman. Then specifically when one focuses on Akara, Akara represents the Virat, the total gross body. So our body, we think, is this much. World is different from us. So we live in that sense of limitation, finitude. In this Upasana, the understanding is that Supreme Brahman who is Omkar, that Brahman alone is manifesting as all this. So even this body is also made up of 5 elements, the world also is made up of 5 elements. So the Upasana is that one Brahman appears as all. That is how the body identification goes. Our feeling today is, I am this one limited individual and now I am doing Omkara Upasana to get some particular result. This Upasana is done, please remember, for the sake of realization. This is not a Upasana for some material benefit. And so the whole worldview will change. Earlier, I think that world is separate and I am born into this world. And there are so many jivas in the world. Now the understanding is, there is one Brahman who alone is appearing as all this. So the duality which we have in our mind, that goes. Like it is one, if we are in the dream, then there are many dream characters in the dream. And there is and those characters, I am one of them. So I am one of the dream characters in the dream. There may be other people, there may be other beings, there is hills, mountains, rivers, all that in the dream world. But when one sees from the standpoint of the dream creator, that dream creator is one who is appearing as many. And further, that dream creator also is none other than the waker. So from this understanding that I am one jiva and like that there are many jivas, that is called Bahu Jivavad. One comes to the higher level of understanding where one says, no, there is only one creator, the totality alone exists, and that totality is manifesting in all these ways. It is not that individualities put together is the totality. That is our mistake right now that we are making. Individualities put together is not totality. All the waves cannot be put together to make the ocean. Every single wave is an appearance of the ocean. A wave has no independent existence. So this understanding is a very important aspect. So the seeker who is doing Omkar Upasana will focus on this, that I am one with this whole creation. So I am not this one jiva, I am that Virat. Who is that Virat? That Omkar only manifesting in this gross world is Virat. So this is the Upasana wonders. Hence, if I hurt anybody in the world, I am hurting my own self. That's why I love all. Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitra karuna evacha, when Bhagavan says in the 12th chapter of the Gita, don't have dvesh towards anybody, because that is our own self. No, Swamiji, I love everybody, but my boss I can't love, my mother-in-law I can't love, this neighbor I can't love. They are not Brahman. Everybody else is Brahman. That we get stuck in Raga and Dvesh. That's why we have these ideas. But the Omkar Upasana itself is that where one says, no, there is only one Supreme, that is manifesting as the totality. So the entire standpoint has changed. That is called the Omkar Upasana. And now one lives with that attitude that all this is one Supreme Truth alone. So one lives in service, one lives in love, in compassion. And when the body drops, what will happen to this person? Now this person has still not realized Nirgun Nirakar Parabrahma Tattva. Final mukti is only through that. Even this level of upasana and living in this attitude through the day, that there is only totality, Jiva Bhav is an illusion, and that one is appearing as so many. One is inculcating that feeling, that bhavana, that upasana is bhavana pradhan. So one will invoke that feeling and live in that attitude. One has still not experienced that my true nature is Sachidananda Swarup Atma. One has not yet experienced. So one is on the sadhana, in the journey. Now if one drops the body, what will happen to that person? So here it is said that akara, this upasana of Omkar and focusing on this first matra akara, is presided over by the Rig Veda mantras. And so the Rig Veda mantra devatas will take that jiva to ensure that the jiva does not go around anywhere else in the cosmos based on the sanchit karma of the past. That jiva will be born again on the earth in human yoni, in an environment where the sadhana is conducive. So tapas, shraddha, brahmacharya, all that one will attain, and one will continue the journey. Imagine that is such a big assurance the Upanishad gives. Otherwise, this bhoga vritti which is there, millions of lives we have lived in bhoga. Compared to that, sadhana what we have done is very less. Now if that bhoga vritti again starts coming up, again the person gets lost in the samsara, in the worldly ways of living and seeking pleasure and power and position and becomes extrovert. When will the person get again some opportunity to do sadhana and start reflection. All that one has done, it will appear very insignificant, and it may even appear that it is gone. That's what Arjuna asks, no, that yesterday we saw. That I am neither in this world, I have not attained enjoyments here, and I have not attained Jivan Mukti, so I am like a Trishanku. Bhagavan says, don't worry. That is Upanishadic assurance here, that you will be endowed with these mental qualities. So all the sadhana that we do, purify the mind, etc., if we are doing it consistently in this way, and the mind has purified itself to do this upasana, then this tapas, brahmacharya, shraddha, one will be endowed with that, and so the journey will continue from where one left. That's the job of this Rigveda mantras, devatas. So they will ensure that. So this is called as the akara upasana. Of Omkar, the focus is on akara, so that is the first matra upasana. Now, we have to also understand this, that we experience this in different levels. This expansion of identification we experience. It's not something absolutely subtle and unheard of, or that we have not experienced. So when I live in this level as a body, this is one, that's the most fundamental way in which one generally lives. But when one identifies saying, I am a member of this family, then the identification has expanded. Then family comes before the individual. And for the honor of the family, one can sacrifice, one can do anything. Same way, when one says, I am, let us say, a Hindu, then the expansion is further. That of all the Hindus, 1.2 billion people in the world are practicing this Hindu dharma. I am a follower of that Sanatana dharma. Expansion happens. If one says, I am an Indian, then irrespective of the caste, community, creed, which state I am, the expansion is, I am an Indian who is, born here, who is proud of my culture, my country, and I identify with all other people in India as Indians. So the expansion is much more. So in that way, one keeps expanding. Physically, of course, the body is the same, but in the mind, the vision completely changes. So in that vision, when one operates, that's what is the strength that comes from this higher identification. So in that way, the upasak expands the identification to say that this entire world is appearance of one truth. Now please remember, this is Omkar Upasana. If simply I chant Om and make the mind quiet, that is a very simple way of just concentrating the mind. That is really not Upasana. Upasana is where we have bhavana. Bhavana is main in Upasana, and then one surrenders the ego and the identification increases with the higher, and identification with the lower will decrease. And if Upasana is done properly, then only one is ready for Nididhyasan to contemplate on Brahman. We are talking about Jnana Marg here. Upanishad is advocating that Jnana Marg. So until Upasana is not done properly, Nididhyasan also will not happen. So it is to integrate the head, the heart, the hands. This Upasana is a very powerful method. In the head, the vision is one totality is, and hence everything is an appearance of that. In the heart, the feeling is I love all, no dvesh towards anybody. And in the hands, it is serve people as the expression of the totality, that all this is expression of the divine. So I am serving the Lord through my actions. That is called Upasana. While doing the chanting of Om, one invokes this bhavana and this feeling and lets go of this small identification with this BMI, and then in the day-to-day world when we are working, have this attitude of service, of love, of compassion. That is Virat Upasana. That is Akara Pradhan Upasana. That's the first matra. Now, what happens if one identifies with the second matra? So that is the fourth mantra. Atha yadi dvimatrena manasi sampadyate so antariksham yajurbhir unniyate somalokam sa somaloke vibhutim anubhuya punaravartate. Now if, so Upanishad also says atha, and if dvimatrena manasi sampadyate, if one is doing the upasana of the second matra, which is U, like Akara represents the total gross body, Ukara represents total subtle body, which is Hiranyagarbha, Sutratma, Mukhya Prana, whatever name we want to call, Prathamaja, firstborn. So one does upasana of that Hiranyagarbha. Dvimatrena manasi sampadyate. One identifies with that. In the mind, one identifies with the Hiranyagarbha. Meaning, just like we see that body is a part of this entire total universe, gross universe. This is 5 elements. This body also 5 elements. Whole universe, there is a oneness. The purpose of study of Tattva Bodh and fundamental books is meant for this, to understand that at no level there is a difference. Upanishads also very clearly says, Kathopanishad says, Neha nanasti kinchana. There is no difference and duality anywhere. There is only oneness. And whoever sees duality and whoever means has the vision of duality, mrityo samrityam apnoti, goes from death to death. So duality may be in appearance, but in the vision there has to be non-duality, because it is all made up of one cause only, appearance of one cause. Even materially, it is all 5 elements, gross 5 elements. This body is made up of gross 5 elements. World also is made up of gross 5 elements. There is no difference. Only some gunas change. So the combinations of these 5 elements and the gunas makes the variety. Otherwise, the fundamental substance is the same. No difference. Consciousness that enlivens it is also same. Same way, the subtle body is made up of 5 ungrossified elements. And all the subtle bodies put together is Hiranyagarbha. So if I think I am a Mr. So and I am a thinker and I am a great, let us say, poet, or I am a great innovator or some scientist or whatever it may be, that is a functional identity. But these thoughts are not rising in my mind. There is one mind in which all these thoughts are rising. So the identification shifts from, just like for Virat, from one body to the whole universe. Hiranyagarbha Upasana is from one mind to the total mind. Just imagine what is this Upasana. It's fantastic. Is one little mind we have. In that one little mind, if we are thinking, I am this mind, and then we are saying, these are my thoughts, these are my feelings, this is what I experience, this is the way in which I perceive, this is my decision, this is my opinion. Functionally, yes, one has to use that terminology. One can't say that Hiranyagarbha thinks like this. People will get confused. Now, who is this Hiranyagarbha now? One uses this, yes, I think like this, or I say like this, whatever. That is a functional identity. But the vision behind is that none of these thoughts are this my thoughts, the ownership that we have for all this. How does one live? One lives identified with that one total cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha, that there is one total mind, and this is only one expression of that total mind. All the minds are expressions of that one total mind. So what will happen? This karta bhav, bhokta bhav will reduce, and we will stop blaming people also, because it is one mind which is doing all this. It is not, there are not so many hundreds and thousands of minds, and I am one of them. You see the vision? It's not I am one mind and there are so many other minds, and now I have to prove my superiority, or I have to prove my self-worth. I am something. That is there at one stage of evolution, but one has seen all that, saying this is all temporary, there's nothing permanent here, and it is not going to give lasting satisfaction. Retaining this small little mind and identification with it, if we say I want Brahman, it is not possible only. Because this one finite entity can never experience infinite. That's why Upanishad says you can't grasp this by the mind. But then the same Upanishad says mind is the only equipment by which we can grasp it. Manasa eva idam aptavyam. That is a purified mind. That is a subtle mind which does not have this kartatva bhav, bhoktatva bhav, which says there is one mind which does everything. So that is karta and bhokta. So blaming others, accusing others, favoring somebody, all that will stop. One will do vyavahar, what duty one has to do, one will do, but internally no blaming anybody. It is one mind which is doing all this. So looking at life from one small individual mind's perspective to shifting that to the totality, the vision of the totality, that there is one mind and all that is happening here is an expression of that one mind. Like the dreamer, the dream creator, it is the mind of the dream creator which is functioning through all the minds of the jivas in the dream world. So if the identification is with that totality, naturally one will also understand many things which one was not understanding from individual standpoint. The vision of the totality brings a completely different vision and understanding of the universe, the way it functions, as well as the vyavahar with the beings. Like I give always the example of this computers because it's very easy to understand nowadays. Now so many phones are all there. They are connected to internet. Now each one of us is connecting to the internet. And we download things from the internet and we use on our phone, and we have customized whatever applications on our phone and email and photographs and everything. So that freedom is there and we do that. But all the phones are connected to one internet, and whoever is the server administrator, and there are lots of server administrators, that's the limitation of example. So whoever is the server administrator has a higher understanding, saying this many phones are all connected to this one server. So from that standpoint, whatever is happening because they are connected to internet. There are various facilities available and each one is using as per their choice. So same way our mind is connected to the total mind. So each one as a human being has purushartha kshamata, so one can choose what one wants to do, but all are connected by one, and the minds of all are enlivened by one truth only. So if somebody attains that state of Hiranyagarbha, it becomes easy for that person to even understand what is happening in the minds of other people. I'm not talking that siddhi is what one seeks. That will happen as a byproduct, and one is not even interested in that, really speaking, because one wants to realize the Supreme Self. But that is what will happen. So Hiranyagarbha Upasana means that one identifies with the total mind and lets go of this attitude, my thought, my feeling. This small, holding on to this small mind of ours, we get so attached, and then emotions have all kinds of havoc on us. Arjun collapsed because of emotions only. Attachments, not emotions, attachments. So these emotional attachments, as they rise, then one gets deluded, one doesn't know what is the duty. All that is happening because of identification with the one personality, one individuality. Now I shift that identification. There is only totality. There is one mind, cosmic mind. That is appearing as all this. Oh, Swamiji, but how will I do my vyavahar? That functionally, yes, one does the vyavahar. Like the actor will play the role, but deep down the actor knows I am not this. I am someone else. Same way, we will do our roles, but one knows I am not this individuality. I am that totality working through all. So that is called Hiranyagarbha Upasana. So he says here, Atha yadi dvimatrena manasi sampadyate. If the identification has become complete with this Hiranyagarbha, and in that situation, if the person has dropped the body, that one has to understand that mantra doesn't give that words. Those words are not there. That the person dropped the body. That one has to add, because that's the context of the question. Then what happens to that person? Which loka will that person go? Saha antariksham somalokam yajurbhi unniyate. One will go to the somaloka in antariksha. Huh? Somaloka. What is this somaloka? That's the world of moon. Acha, I will go to moon. I land in the moon. Array, these astronauts are doing so much. After death, I will go to moon. Array, not that physical moon. That is not Chandra Loka. That is only physical expression of the Chandra. Devata. The Chandra Loka is actually called Swarga Loka. Because moon and matter are connected. And enjoyment. Moon is that's why connected to enjoyment. Love, romance, desire, fulfillment, all that is connected to moon. So one will go to that Chandra Loka. So antariksham yajurbi, the Yajurveda mantra devatas will take this jiva to Swarga Loka. Sa somaloke vibhutim anubhuya punaravartate. There one experiences whatever punya karma one has acquired, one will experience some good experience there, and one will come back again on the earth. See, all this is how we understand that what is said in the Gita has sources in the Upanishads. Trivedya, so Trived, what is the mantra there? Shloka is there in the Gita, 9th chapter. Trividyamam somapa puta papaha swargairištva yajnairištva swargatim prarthayante te punyamasadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan devideva bhogan. They will enjoy there. See, that is the people who have that desire for heaven. They do those rituals and they get punya karma, and the power of that punya karma will lead them to that heaven. Etam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martya lokam vishanti. They enjoy this swargaloka, which is very vast, and they again come back martya lokam. Why is this seeker going there? This seeker does not want that sensory enjoyments, but the identification is with the entire universe. Moon is the presiding deity of the mind, and the identification of this Upasak is with the total mind. So one goes to Swargaloka. Not to enjoy sense enjoyments and pleasures and all that. In the case of this seeker, one goes and one is there experiencing whatever punya one has experienced, and then again one comes back. Divine divine powers, etc. one may have in that Swargaloka. It's like a seeker who goes to, let us say, some 7-star hotel. A bhogi going to a 7-star hotel and a seeker going to a 7-star hotel, there will be a lot of difference. It's like that. A person who is a seeker, because one has done the identification with the total mind, and the presiding deity of that mind is the moon, so one will be led there by the mantras. Now that person stays there, experiences whatever benefits of that upasana are, comes back. Again the journey will continue for that seeker. The point to understand is actually this, both these are the path of return. What we see in the Gita, the two paths, the bright path, the dark path, the solar path, the lunar path. Both these are the path of return to earth. And both these are considered lower upasanas compared to the third matra, which is ma. That is the method to get krama mukti. That is considered lower than jivan mukti. So this is the hierarchy. Just imagine what heights Vedanta takes us to, and that is our true self. We have forgotten our true nature, and this is a process of retracing our journey, going back to the source, our own true nature. Omkaar is our true nature. In the absolute sense, Omkaar is Brahman, that is our true self. So the idea of Upanishad giving these two is to tell us, why do you want this? Strive for either Jivan Mukti or Krama Mukti. And right now this question is about the Krama Mukti. Omkar Upasana, what will that seeker get? So the teacher is answering, Parabrahma, Aparabrahma is Omkar only. So in that Parabrahma is Ishvara, Aparabrahma is Hiranyagarbha and Virat. But compared to Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara, Brahman is the supreme. That is Jivan Mukti Avastha. Imagine what state Tapon Maharaj reached, what state Gurudev reached. How blessed are we to have a Jivan Mukta Sant in front of us, who was there with us, with whom we interacted, who gave us this knowledge, whose grace is there even now. What level they have experienced. Crossing all these, one comes to Jivan Mukti. What Bhagavan says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabha. That Mahatma is very rare to find, who says everything as expression of the divine. To find one such Mahatma is difficult. This is the glorious land Bharat which has produced so many such Mahatmas. Indeed, it is a blessing to be born in this country. Whether anybody accepts it or not, that is their choice. But it is a fact that unless Punya Karma is not there, one will not be born in Bharat. Full stop. One can be born anywhere else and one may feel that affluent life and this and that. It's okay. That's a part of evolution. It will happen. But Bharat is a different land. How many countless Mahatmas have come from here, and the traditions are so deep. The sadhana methods are so much, the vision is so vast, it's amazing. So one will be born. So Hiranyagarbha Upasana is this, where he says that Jiva goes to Somaloka. The Jiva may not have desire, but the Jiva did not attain that highest state. And being the presiding deity of the mind, this Jiva, instead of going to any other loka, one will go to this Somaloka and again come back here. Now, interesting it is, if that Jiva comes back here, what will be the gati of that Jiva? Earlier mantra gave the assurance that Manusha Lokam, one will come into this Manusha Lokam Upanayante, and then Tapasa Brahmacharya and all that. That will also be in this. We have to understand that continuity will be there in this, because I cannot rise to the level of Hiranyagarbha without understanding all this is expression of that. So Hiranyagarbha Upasana includes Virat Upasana. I can't say that there is one total mind. All minds are expressions of that, but gross bodies all are different. Functionally, yes, they are different, but the vision is these gross bodies are also expression of that one truth only. So the result of Hiranyagarbha Upasana will also include result of Virat Upasana. So when this person comes back on the earth, it will be in Manusha Yoni, it will continue with this Tapasa, Shraddhaya, Brahmacharya, all that. That is implied. The mantra does not say directly, but that is what is the implication. If Hiranyagarbha, if Virat Upasak can get that, of course Hiranyagarbha Upasak will also get that. Because subtler will include the grosser. Now this is the basic meaning. So just as Virat Upasana helps to drop the body identification, Hiranyagarbha Upasana helps to drop the Jiva Bhav. The identity of the small I, Mr. So-and-so, PFT in Gurudev's BMI chart, that will reduce. And then one lives in that bhavna, and then one drops the body in this state of identification. Then one goes to Chandralok. Now, what does Shankaracharya ji say? Atha punar yadi dvimatra vibhagagnyah dvimatrena vishishtam omkaram Sorry, internet got disconnected. So I was saying, from the totality standpoint, this A-U-Ma, Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara. From individuality standpoint, it is the identification is the waking ego, which is called Vishwa, the dream ego, Taijasa, and deep sleep ego, Prajna. And the fourth matra is Amatra Om, which is Turiya Avastha. And in totality, it is absolute Brahman. So here, that's why I say swapnatmake manasi mananiye. So when one is identified with that total mind, now the total mind from the standpoint of Brahman is like a dream creator. That's why swapnatmake is said. From the waker standpoint, the dream creator is illusory only, no? And the dream creator is then creating the whole dream world. So from Brahman standpoint, this Hiranyagarbha also is like a dream only. The whole the waker, the dream creator, as well as that entire dream world, meaning Hiranyagarbha and this entire Srishti, is illusory only. So from that standpoint, it is said it is illusory. And the identification of the Upasak is with that Hiranyagarbha. So abhidhyayita, manasi mananiye yajurmaye. Now, if one identifies with that totality of Hiranyagarbha, one also starts seeing this whole world as an illusory reality. Because it's a projection of the one mind. See, this is what is to be understood. The difference between Bahujivvad and Ekajivvad. Bahujivvad, world is real, and world, there are so many jivas in the world, which is what the regular phenomenon is where we live. But Ekajivvad, there is only one jiva, meaning that one is the supreme, Ish Brahman, appearing as whatever the total identification is. So Ishvara, then Hiranyagarbha, and then Virat. So it is one mind. And whatever that mind is projecting is a dream, is not real. So this entire universe is illusory. What we try to do is we try to think that I am this Mr. So and so in the universe. Now holding on to that identification, we say this is illusory. And then we don't seem to get convinced by that, or we are not able to live to that level because we think that how can this be illusory? I'm transacting every minute. This is real. If I touch fire, it will burn. How is this illusory? So retaining body identification and then trying to say this is illusory does not work. As long as I'm in the dream, it will appear real. In the vision, I have to have that clarity that no, this is illusory. Why this is illusory? Because that Brahman is changeless. That changeless alone is. But then I'm seeing the world. So if the changeless is and this world is there and continuously changing, it can only be an appearance of the changeless. The changeless cannot produce the world or create the world from itself because it is changeless. So it is said that Brahman, using the power of Maya, becomes Ishvara, who becomes Hiranyagarbha, who becomes Virat. And that totality alone is manifesting as so many jivas. So individuality has no existence actually. It is all the individualities are appearances of that totality. And appearances are illusory, like the dream is illusory. It's not real. So that's why the word swapnatmake is used. So swapnatmake manasi mananiye yajurmaye. Now if this attitude is there while living, one understands this is an illusory reality. One doesn't blame anybody. One does what one has to do as the vyavahar, as the duty. But deep down one knows I am not this jiva and this world is illusory. With this understanding one has lived. This is the foundation of this upasana, ukara upasana. Now with this attitude one has lived, and when one has dropped the body, then what will happen? Yajurmaye soma daivatye sampadyata. So this person the Yajurveda mantra devatas, they will take this jiva ekagrataya Atmabhavam gacchati. So one has identified completely with this totality, and then when one has dropped the body, sa evam sampannaha. In this state of identification, mritaha, when one has died, antariksham antarikshadharam dvitiya matra rupam dvitiya matra rupaireva yajurbhir unniyate somalokam. So dvitiya matra represents this. The Ukara represents the total mind and the Somaloka. One will go to that. Saumyam Janma Prapayanti Tam Yajumshi iti Arthaha. And there one will get a good birth in the Somaloka. Saumyam Janma Prapayanti Tam Yajumshi. So this Yajurveda mantras will ensure that they get a good body there. They exhaust their punya karmas. And sa tatra vibhutim anubhuya, having experienced the glory of Swarga. See, unasked also it is coming. Huh? One doesn't want it. But one has identified with the total mind. So, okay, one goes there to Swarga Loka. Now, one very nice point to understand here is this. Just because something is there doesn't mean I have to enjoy it. Our mindset works like that. I didn't ask for it, Swamiji. It just came and somebody gave it. Now, might as well have it, when they've given it. I didn't ask for this cake and this ice cream and all, but they ordered and it has come. So I might as well enjoy it. What is wrong in that? That is our mindset. So even those things which we don't need, which are not required, we will fall for that also. And just because it is there, I don't have to use it. In the world, so many things are there. And people may give so many things also. Just because it's given, why do I have to enjoy it? Not necessary. If it is conducive to my goal, I use it. If it is not, okay, I leave it. So many times, people would come and give so many gifts to Tapon Maharaj. Just because they have given the gift doesn't mean he has to use it. He lives in Vairagya, he doesn't need. He will give it away to somebody who will require it. Or sometimes if that, he is lost in contemplation, tapasya and all that. So sometimes that thing will just get spoiled also. But just because it is given now, why do I have to eat that or enjoy that? Not required. World can give anything. Past karma also will bring so many things in our life. Today's present understanding, if it is different, then I don't need to engage in that. So this seeker goes to heaven, but not necessary that if he goes to heaven, he has to enjoy, eat and drink and see the dance and then live a bhogi's life. No, the seeker can live quietly, just as a sakshi witness, observe all this, what is happening here. That's the sadhana the seeker has done to have this vision that this is also an appearance only. This is world is appearance, that also is appearance only. Everything in the realm of finitude is an appearance. So the seeker will live with that attitude. Oh, Swamiji, if it is anyway appearance, why not enjoy it? Because that enjoyment also is appearance. That is the problem there. Because in that enjoyment, we forget that it's an appearance. We get attached to that enjoyment. That's why self-control helps. Those people who say the world is anyway illusory, let us eat, drink, be merry. Because anyway it's illusory. Why did live in self-control? The point one is missing there is this, that the understanding that this is illusory is not available to me when I am fully identified and enjoying that. How will I experience that it is illusory? And so it will create vasanas for me. It will create attachments for me. I will have craving for it. My mind will brood about it. And then all that is real, no? Then how is it illusory? Because I forgot that it's illusory. Bhogavritti takes away this jnana. Jnana nishtha and bhogavritti don't go together. So one lives in self-control. So the seeker goes to heaven because, okay, now it is come on the way. I didn't reach my destination. The vehicle has stopped. There's a mall. Okay, go to that mall, wait till the diesel or whatever has to be filled is filled up. Again, continue the journey, something like that. So the seeker goes there, understands the illusory nature of that also, and the journey will continue. Again, one comes back to the earth. So both these Hiranyagarbha Upasana and the Virat Upasana will bring the seeker back to earth, to Manusha Loka, to continue the journey. That's why we should not have any insecurity about what will happen to me. All the sadhana I am doing, will it go for a waste? Will I have to start again from the beginning? No. Upanishad gives assurance you will continue from where you left. Have Shraddha. That's why Shastra Nishtha is required. The Shraddha, sorry, Shastra Shraddha. Shraddha in the Shastra, Shraddha in the Guru Vakya is required only for this reason. Because we don't know many of these as a jiva, we still have not understood many subtler aspects. These sadhanas, these upasanas, so many Mahatmas have experienced. Upanishads, they have followed. People like Shankaracharya have commented on all this. Now imagine all this knowledge is there and what all the gati of the jiva will happen. So after the death, mrityu, what is the jiva gati? This is the gati of yogis, the solar path, the lunar path, krama mukti, all that is the gati of the yogis. Bhogis will go anywhere, in whichever yoni, depending on their karma, and slowly, they will also turn into yogi. A long process. And our scriptures explain all this very clearly. 7 worlds higher, 7 worlds lower, and which punya you do, where will you go, which loka one will attain, all that the Puranas explain. And after having explained all that also, because we have not studied our Shastra, we have not understood the depth of this literature, we are easily getting carried away by so-called modern thinking that there is no life after death. That we go into unmanifest state and again we come back into manifestation. In between there is nothing. Upanishad don't support that. Vedic knowledge doesn't support that. Punarjanma and the Jiva Gati after the Mrityu is a fact, whether one accepts it or not. That's why Shraddha Karma, etc. is done. Because life is a continuity till one doesn't realize I am Supreme Brahman. So with the deeper vision is how we have to live our life. Anchored in dharma, anchored in values, keeping the goal very clear. If Jivan Mukti is my goal, then the intensity of effort also has to be so much. Now just look at it. Even this Virat Upasana, Hiranyagarbha Upasana is not easy to do. To live in that state all the time. Identified with the total gross body, identified with the total subtle body. That itself is not easy to do. Then we are talking about Jivan Mukti. Much more difficult it is. That is one end of the spectrum. The other end is one is living absolutely ignorant of all this, fully identified with the body, living in the body, for the body, as the body, and says, YOLO, you live only once, so eat, drink, be merry. These are two ends of the spectrum. One has to understand the deeper meaning of the Shastra so that one makes the right choices in life, because there's a long way to go. It is when one wakes up to that state, one realizes, oh, this was illusory, this was not true at all. This was all, the entire thing was, there was no Srishti ever created. That is the highest state. But till then, one has to be very careful, alert, walk the path properly, do the sadhanas, do upasana. Life is given for that. Human life is meant for sadhana only. It's not meant for just whiling away. From a deeper standpoint, higher standpoint, we say that whiling away of time and enjoyment as a human being also is a part of getting vairagya. There is no doubt in that. But having come to this path, having understood this, then one should start practicing some of these. And this can be practiced in any state. It is not necessary only sannyasi has to be there to practice this. Even as a householder or as a brahmachari, one can practice this. Vanaprasthi, one can practice this, because it's a question of identification. Internal identification that I am not this one body, I am one with this whole universe. So the entire universe is my body. Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. Purusha Suktam says that is Virat Roop of the cosmic being. Virat Roop or cosmic being, that one identifies with that, saying this whole universe is my body. Same way one identifies with Hiranyagarbha. The entire total mind, that alone is real. This individuality is an appearance of that total mind. So it's not so many different minds, one mind. So now one lives in that way, consciously strives to live with that attitude. That is the Upasana. And both these, as I said, are given for us to understand that these are still lower. Now strive for higher. So the main mantra of this chapter, 5th chapter, is the mantra number 5. As I said, see, this mantra is talking about the Upasana of Ishvara, the Makara Upasana, and which will make that jiva ready for Krama Mukti. From the standpoint of Jivan Mukti, this is still lower. But from the standpoint of the other gatis that a jiva gets, going to Swarga, enjoying here and there, going to some other lokas, going to Naraka, all that, from considering all that, this is Krama Mukti is the best one can get. So one does not need to go to Somaloka. Even as a sadhak getting punya, one doesn't need to go to Somaloka, it is inferior. So strive to realize the higher, which is Ishvara Upasana. So that's the purpose of this. This chapter is to tell the seeker that if you can't get Jivan Mukti, then attempt for Krama Mukti. Now see here, 5th mantra. Yaha punaretam trimatrena omityete naiva aksharena param purusham abhidhyayita sa tejasi surye sampannaha yatha padodaraha tvacha vinirmuchyata evam havai sa papmana vinirmuktaha sa samabhir unniyate brahmalokam sa etasmat jiva ghanat parat param purishayam purusham ikshate tadetau shlokau bhavataha. Yaha punaretam. Now one who does again the upasana of the 3rd matra, trimatrena omiti etena eva aksharena. So here it is not said only one focuses on makar. Because if you remember, we said Virat and Hiranyagarbha are called Karya Brahma. Ishvara is called Karana Brahma. So Virat and Hiranyagarbha are expressions of Ishvara. Ishvara is the causal state. Subtle state is Hiranyagarbha. Gross state is Virat. So this gross and subtle, their cause is Ishvara. So here the seeker is focusing on all the 3, because Ishvara Upasana will include Hiranyagarbha and Virat. Like what we saw earlier, Hiranyagarbha includes Virat. Ishvara includes Hiranyagarbha and Virat both. So one is focusing on that Ishvara. So one is chanting Om with this bhavana that there is one Ishvara. Om ityenaiva aksharena, not makara. See, earlier it was said dvimatrena in the earlier mantra, and before that ekamatra abhidhyayita, one matra abhidhyana Dvimatra Abhidhyana. Here, Trimatrena is said, but Om iti Aksharena. It is not said only Trimatrena. Earlier too, it was only one matra, two matras. Not full Om was said. Which means that chanting was done of Omkar, but focus is on Akara. In this chanting is, and second one, chanting is done of Omkar, focus is on Ukara. In this one, chanting is done of Omkar, but focus is not on just Ma. Focus is on the entire Om as Ishvara only, as that supreme causal state. So, Param Purusham Abhidhyayita. Then what will happen to this person? Now, what is the Vishwarupasana? The Ishvara as the causal body, by itself as the causal body, Ishvara is formless, because causal body is unmanifest state. The first form is Hiranyagarbha. So all the forms which we worship are Hiranyagarbha level. Ishvara here is Brahman only, using the power of Maya has become Ishvara. So one connects to the, one may still use the form, like here one is using Omkar. So what we saw earlier, how one has form of Vishnu and others, and how one has bhakti in that, same way one has bhakti in Omkar. And in that Omkar, then either Akara, Ukara or Makar. So Virat, Hiranyagarbha or Ishvara. Please remember, same thing applies even to other upasanas. One can consider Vishnu as appearing as this whole universe and serve. Or one can say Vishnu is the total mind and reduce one's karta and bhokta bhav. Or one can say Vishnu is that supreme nameless formless entity. I meditate on that nameless formless entity where there is no duality. See, causal state, no? In our deep sleep, we are in the causal state. So what is that? What is in that causal state? There is no experiencer, experienced, and experience. This triputi is not there. So the let us say the food, the person who eats the food and the experience of eating food, not there. Triputi it is. In waking and dream, this triputi will be there. But in that causal state, there is no triputi. In deep sleep, no triputi. So this upasana is to rise above the three triputi. And one says the Ishvara alone is, and Ishvara is without name, without form, without attributes. No, sorry, without name, without form, but attributes are there. Sorry. Without name, without form, but attributes. Like in the deep sleep, all knowledge and everything is there, but it is unmanifested in the individual. That's how when we wake up from deep sleep and again we come into dream and then into waking, we remember whatever knowledge we had and we don't forget. It is only that in deep sleep it has gone into an unmanifest state. Same way, at the totality level, all the names, forms, they have become unmanifest, but guna is there. So Ishvara is compassionate, kind, and all those gunas are there in the Ishvara, but all is unmanifested. So one who meditates on that Ishvara, saying that where in that state there is no duality, there is no experiencer, experienced, and the experience, the triputi is not there. I meditate on that Brahman which is beyond the duality. Trishudhamasu yad bhogyam bhokta bhogascha yad bhavet tebhyo vilakshana sakshi chinmatroham sadashivaha. So it is that consciousness which is beyond the subtle and the gross, beyond the manifestation, this supreme cause of the whole universe. The Hiranyagarbha and Virat also come from that supreme Brahman, and it is that Brahman who is using the power of Maya is the creator. So one identifies with that creator while chanting Omkar. One meditates on that supreme Purusha, that one consciousness it is, which is the cause of this whole thing. Now, then what is the difference between this and Nididhyasan? In Nididhyasan, one is saying that consciousness is me. That's the power of Mahavakya. Here one is saying, I am an Upasak doing Upasana of Ishvara. And who is that Ishvara? Cause of the whole universe, controller of Maya, who is nameless, formless, but who has attributes. So Virat and Hiranyagarbha is name and form, Sagun Sakar Upasana. Sagun Nirakar Upasana is Ishwar Upasana. And when one gets Brahma Jnan, one contemplates Nididhyasan on Nirgun Nirakar, where there is no Ishvara also. Brahman alone is everything else. There is nothing else, only Brahman. That is Nirgun Nirakar. Now those who say, no, I don't believe in form, I will do formless. Okay, meditate on Brahman. Without going through this purification process and identifying, dropping the identification with this one individuality, how will I ever do Nididhyasan? It is not possible only. Bhagavan says very clear in 12th chapter of the Gita. Klesho adhikataras tesham avyakta sakta chetasam. Avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavat bhiravapyate. Those people who do the upasana of avyakta, that is Ishvara. Avyakta is Ishvara. They will have tremendous sorrow if they have body identification, because neither they are worshipping form for which they are ready, nor they are able to hold the mind on the formless, nameless, attributeless, formless and nameless. How will they realize? So just because one has some notions, oh, form worship is primitive, I don't want to do that, I will worship the formless. Are adhikara should be there, Baba. When we have adhikara, then there is no problem. But without adhikara means qualification, eligibility. If I say I will do formless, neither here nor there. That means ito bhrashta, tato bhrashta. The form also one has left, one is not ready for formless. That is Trishangu state, hanging somewhere in between. So Nididhyasan is higher than this Sagun Nirakar Upasana. That is Nirgun Nirakar, Nididhyasan one does. This is the technical aspect I am explaining. Otherwise, generally we will just say Sagun Sakar and Nirgun Nirakar. You do Upasana of nameless, formless, attributeless Brahman. Because to explain all these technicalities, that person should have background of Vedanta thoroughly. So colloquially, I mean not colloquially, in the regular classes and general Prakarana Granthas, etc., when we take, or even Gita when we take sometimes, depending on what is the audience, how much prepared they have been, then one will explain at different levels. So Upanishad class is where one has built a base. Then one has to understand properly that Hiranyagarbha and Virat are Sagun Sakar Upasana. Ishvara is Sagun Nirakar Upasana. And both these are Upasanas. Then one can purify, when has purified the mind through this, then Nirgun Nirakar Dhyan one can do. Where Nididhyasana, I mean, where one says, I am that Brahman, I am not this Jiva at all. Because that Jiva Bhav has become so thin that the contemplation on Brahman will ensure this Jiva Bhav disappears. With Jiva Bhav very strong, if I say I am Brahman, it is only mechanical repetition, nothing will happen. So this we have to understand clearly. So now, here he says that this person meditates on this Omkar with this attitude that Omkar is this Ishvara. And just like cause pervades the whole universe, Omkar pervades this whole universe. Ishvara pervades this whole universe also. So In contemplation, one thinks of Ishvara as the supreme Brahman who is using the power of Maya, has become the creator, is the cause. So naturally one surrenders Jiva Bhava to that Ishvara and tries to go beyond. So doing Upasana of Ishvara, one can go into the state of Samadhi where one tries to go beyond this experiencer experienced experience. And that Ishvara alone is appearing as Hiranyagarbha and Virat. So Omkar, if is that Ishvara, that Omkar alone pervades the whole universe. So in the state of, when one comes out of this quiet state of Upasana, transacting in the world, one will operate at the level what we saw earlier, all this expression of the divine. All thoughts are of one mind. And so one will serve them as appearances of Ishvara only. And one will do this Upasana. Now, Param Purusham Abhidhyayita, if that person drops the body in this situation, Jivan Mukti one has not attained. Then Sa Tejasi Surya Sampannaha, then that person goes to Surya Lok. Surya Lok, what is Surya Lok? One goes to sun. Surya Lok here means Brahma Lok. The mantra only will say further. Now an example is given. Yatha padodaraha tvacha vinirmuchyata evam havai sapapmana vinirmuktaha. Like the snake drops its old skin and wriggles out of that and has a completely new skin. You know, if you see, it's very fascinating. That old skin will look like a snake only. Exactly. That shape also, it will be like that. And the snake has wriggled out of that old skin. Until, of course, you take it, lift it, then it will change the shape. Otherwise, it will remain in the same shape in which that snake has left that old skin. It has come out of that skin. It will just remain like that. How the snake casts the old skin and comes out with the new skin, same way this seeker drops all papa, papmana vinirmuktaha. And where will this person be led? Samabhi. So Samaveda mantra devatas will take this jiva to Brahma Lokam. So Surya Loka, Brahma Loka, same. Then why Surya was used? Because solar path, lunar path. Surya symbol of knowledge, Ishvara. So we worship Surya not as a star. We worship Surya as Ishvara only. No? That's why we have the Gayatri mantra where we worship Surya. The manifest symbol of that Surya Devata, that Ishvara, who is unmanifest, is this physical Surya. So we look at that Surya, but remember that Supreme Ishvara who is unmanifest. That's the depth of the Gayatri mantra. That which is unmanifest, Ishvara, manifests in form of Surya as a star to provide life, to provide nourishment, energy, all that. Earlier we saw Prashnopanishad has done so much about Surya Upasana. So that for us, that Surya is symbol of knowledge, of life, of consciousness. So the seeker doesn't want bhoga. The seeker is not interested in some material enjoyments. Seeker is wanting mukti. But one could not get Jivan Mukti. One doesn't have bhoga vasanas to go to Swargaloka or to go back to earth. One will go straight to the highest loka. What is that? Brahma Loka, the 7th level. Bhuloka is the first level of evolution. There are 7 levels below. Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, Patal, 7 below. They will lead to devolution. Evolution is from earth. Bhuhu, Bhuva, Suvaha, Maha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. 7. The Satya Loka, Surya Loka, Brahma Loka, same. Now, this Samaveda mantra devatas will take this jiva to Brahma Loka. Sa etasmat jiva ghanat parat param. Now, this state is higher than Hiranyagarbha. Jiva ghana is Hiranyagarbha. the total, so one jiva and all the jivas put together is the totality. Who is that? That is Hiranyagarbha. This state is higher than Hiranyagarbha also. Hiranyagarbha itself is higher than Virat. So Hiranyagarbha is called Parat. Greater than this Hiranyagarbha is Ishvara. So it is called Parat Param. So Parat Param Purishayam Purusham Ikshate. And there what happens? One experiences the Supreme Brahman. Brahmaji gives lecture there. Upadesh. So what will you do going to Brahmalok? Once you go to Brahmalok, you have to attend Vedant class. 7 o'clock in the morning, Brahmaji will take Upanishad class. Huh? There also Vedant class only? There is no other solution. Until one realizes oneness with Brahman, Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasana, that's the only method. There is no other method. But here in this in this plane of Manusha Loka, it takes long time. There it happens quickly. Because mind is so purified. You just see now what is the level of this mind. That mind, for whatever prarabdha reasons, the body drop, could not realize Jivan Mukti here. That mind goes straight to Brahmalok. And there Brahmaji gives Upadesh. Sometimes it is said that Brahmaji gives Upadesh at the time of Pralaya. So till then one is living there in contemplation. Sometimes it is said Brahmaji gives Upadesh and the Jiva realizes quickly and then lives as a Jivan Mukta for that long period of time in Brahmaloka. And then in Pralaya, of course, all the Jivas merge into Brahmaji. So that's a different matter. So this is what will happen. That person will experience Jivan Mukti. There one will realize Brahman. How? Purishayam, that supreme truth which is enlivening all bodies. Purusham ikshate. Please remember here the word Purusha does not mean Ishvara. Here the word Purusha means Brahman. In the earlier mantras, the word Purusha meant Ishvara, the Karana Brahma. Here it is beyond Karana Brahma, absolute supreme reality, nameless, formless, attributeless, Nirgun, Nirakar. That ikshate means one experiences, sees. Ikshate means sees, but here it means one experiences that. Now Pipalada Rishi says, Tadetau shlokau bhavataha. And there are 2 shlokas he quotes from Rigveda mantra, Rigveda, to say this is said in Rigveda also. So that nobody should say that, oh, Pipalada Rishi is cooking up his own theories. He says this is said even in the Rigveda mantra. So that is mantra number 6 and 7. So that we will take tomorrow. Today we will see some portion of this bhashya of this mantra. Sa punar etam omkaram trimatrena trimatra vishaya vijnana vishishtena omityenaiva aksharena param suryantargatam purusham pratikena abhidhyayita. So one is doing this upasana of Omkar, consisting of 3 matras, chanting Om, but meditating on the Ishvara, not focusing only on one matra, on Omkar as a whole, and focusing on Ishvara. And who is the symbol of that Ishvara? Surya Antargatam Purusham Pratikena. So the consciousness which is enlivening that Surya, for us that Surya is a pratika of that Ishvara. Meaning one may think of Omkar itself as that Surya or that Ishvara. In the world, the physical manifest symbol is Surya Devata also. Please remember, don't think Surya is separate. The consciousness enlivening Surya is separate and Omkar is separate. It is same. But because Surya Loka one goes to, Brahma Loka one goes to, the path of the sun. And the paths are different. The path of the moon is different. Path of the sun is different. Path of the moon one goes and one returns. That's what it is. That's what it means when Bhagavan says that. Earlier, I think I have explained in Prashnopanishad. The 2 gatis have come earlier also. That time we explained that when it is said in the Gita that Agnihi Jyoti Ahaha Shuklaha Shanmasa Uttarayanam, these 6 conditions which are there, the 6 months which are there, which are Uttarayana months. And please remember, Uttarayan does not start on Makar Sankranti. Uttarayan is constant. It will not change. It will be 21-22 December. For a huge long period of time, it will remain 22-21 December only. That is Uttarayan. Makar Sankranti keeps changing. Our celebration is not of Makar Sankranti. Our celebration is actually for Uttarayan. (272 AD is Uttarayan and Makar Sankranti were coming together. So we were celebrating Uttarayan on that day. Otherwise, Surya entering Makar Rashi, there's nothing glorious about that. Because every month Surya enters one Rashi. What is so great about Makar Rashi then? So celebration is not of Makar, Surya entering Makar Rashi. From Dhanu Rashi, it comes to Makar Rashi. That is not a great celebration to be done actually. We may connect it with various other things and for harvest and this and that. And today we are celebrating, nothing wrong in celebrating that way. But if one thinks Uttarayan begins on that day, that is wrong. Uttarayan doesn't begin on that day. Uttarayan has begun before only. After 9,000 years, this Makar Sankranti will come to June. And then totally 26,000 years, it will again come back to this Uttarayan date. That is because of the axial precession of the earth. So Uttarayan time, when one departs, Agnihi, fire, Jyoti, light, Ahaha, daytime, Shuklaha, bright fortnight, and 6 months of Uttarayan. In these conditions, when one drops the body, the devatas of this condition will lead that jiva. Where? To Brahmaloka. No, if a jiva who is very meritorious, if the jiva lives in Dakshinayan, then what happens? Then that jiva will wait till Uttarayan sets in. In some lounge, one will wait as though. Because the Uttarayan devatas have to get ready. They will take this jiva there. Same way here it is the Samaveda mantra devatas who will take the jiva there. So that we have to remember. So that's why Surya is used here. So Chandra Marg, the devatas are different. Surya Marg, the devatas are different. Who are those devatas? In this context here it is said the Samaveda mantras are the devatas for Surya Loka. Yajurveda mantras are the deities for the Chandra Marga. So devatas are different. They have different portfolios and they will take. People think we are a primitive culture. This is the advanced culture. This is the deeper understanding of Vedanta, of the universe and the way in which universe functions and how the jiva attains mukti. This is called advanced culture. This is not primitive culture. Primitive people can't think like this. The buddhi is not sharp. This is subtle thinking and experiential. Yogis and Mahatmas have experienced all this. It's most amazing. So, this is what one goes through when one does this Upasana of Omkar. More we will continue tomorrow. Same, 7 o'clock to 8:30. Yes.
Hari Om Swamiji, thank you. Swamiji, I have 2 questions.
1 minute, I can't hear you. Just 1 minute. Yeah,
okay,
please.
Hari Om Swamiji, Pranam. I have 2 questions, Swamiji. The first one is just for my understanding. Even if someone is doing the Hiranya Garva Upasana, and as you said, he will go to Swargalok, and the idea is, of course, not to enjoy, not to have that bhog vritti, but is it not the case that he's going there to anyway exhaust the vasanas, and no impression is going to be added on? So isn't it better that those vasanas get exhausted over there? That's why it's called.
The jiva is not going there because of vasanas.
Right.
Jiva is going there because of punya karma.
Mm-hmm.
that punya is leading that jiva to that place. It is not that jiva has bhoga vasanas to exhaust which one has gone there. If one has those bhoga vasanas, then of course one will enjoy there. So in this, here the upasana context is to understand the phala of upasana. The phala of upasana is punya. That will lead the jiva to that loka. That is not capable of leading the jiva to Brahma loka, and nor it is capable of giving jivan mukti. So the jiva, the punya done, punya attained by this upasana will lead the jiva only up to the Swarga loka. That's the meaning.
Right. Yes. Sorry. Yes, let's clarify. And Swamiji, the other question is actually related to something else. So, like the prayer that we have in Shiv Sankalp Suktam, where the seeker, when he's chanting that prayer, and prayer is to divinize the mind, so it's in tune with the total mind. So there, the total mind, is it not the Ishvara, or is it the Hiranyagarbha? Is it equivalent to Hiranyagarbha?
See, I don't remember which mantra it is. So at the moment, I can't comment on that.
Oh, okay. All right, Swamiji, perhaps. I mean, the whole bhav in the whole prayer, but in this particular one, mantra 5, it says, Yasmin Chittam Sarvamotam Prajanam Tanme Manaha Shiva Sankalpamastu. So may my mind.
That is Hiranyagarbha. Yasmin Chittam Sarvamotam Prajanam.
Is Hiranyagarbha. Okay.
That is total mind, Hiranyagarbha, in which all the minds are, what we say,
tied, strung together.
That is Hiranyagarbha. See, please remember, technical definition of Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Ishvara is for a certain understanding. Yes. All are appearances of one Brahman only.
Yes.
No difference. But this is a graded understanding for the seeker to evolve systematically, giving a body identification, then Jiva Bhav, and then the Triputi, and then realizing Brahman. So that's a graded method. But otherwise, they are one only. That same Ishvara appearing as Hiranyagarbha. So if you say it is Ishvara in general, there is nothing wrong. Because as I said, sometimes when we write, and it is written either in the book there, or maybe a talk is given, one may say it is Ishvara. Because then suddenly who is Hiranyagarbha, people may not understand.
Right. Understand. So Swamiji, so if one is saying the prayer with the bhav of Ishvara, like, which, like the bhav is, prayer is to Ishvara, not to the technical Hiranyagarbha, that's okay, is it not? It's like trying to identify with Ishvara.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thank you so much. Very good.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. At 9 o'clock, there is a talk on Drigdrishya Vivek. If you want to attend, you can go on to that channel. Acharya Shankar Samskritik Nyas on YouTube. A talk on Drigdrishya Vivek will be there.